I'm sick and tired of medically dangerous, sensationalist claims that certain people are making all over internet. Today, I would like to address one of them. Specifically, I'm going to talk about ketogenic diet and cancer. Hello, I'm Dr. Sam, this is Dr. Sam's Health, and today I would like to talk about one very important but also very controversial and sensitive topic, which is ketogenic diet and cancer. Unfortunately, I've seen a lot of people talking about ketogenic diet, how it can prevent cancer, how it can cure cancer. I don't want to name any specific influencers, I don't want to give them any credit, but I have seen multiple times all over YouTube, all over internet, people are saying that ketogenic diet cures cancer. I believe that this claim is very dangerous, very sensationalist, and we literally have to address it. I believe that I should do it, and quite frankly, throughout my years of making these videos on YouTube, I was mostly trying not to criticize anybody. But I realized that sometimes being silent about certain things can also do some harm, and I decided to start making videos where I will actually criticize certain myths or sensationalist claims. And I think it's very important to start with something. This something will be this idea that ketogenic diet can cure cancer. Before we begin, as always, my disclaimers. First of all, I'm a medical doctor, and that is the reason why I believe that it's important for me to talk about subjects like that. But I do not provide any kind of medical advice over YouTube, of course, and I just express my opinions that are based on years of studying, clinical experience, my research, and I always do a lot of research. And speaking of ketogenic diet and cancer, what I often hear is that people are talking about medical community, how medical community doesn't read research, it ignores research into nutrition and cancer and mental health and other things. There are big pharma is involved, big oncology is involved, and so on. I must say that it is not true. Medical community consists of people who actually have great training, do a lot of research when they are studying and also throughout their careers. And today I would like to talk about one specific article that was published in the journal called Nutrients. Actually, I realized I'm a very avid reader of this journal because there are lots of articles on nutrition published there. The article's name is Long-Term Effects of a Ketogenic Diet for Cancer. And it is a beautiful article because it shows quite a few things to us, and I will try to dissect it in a more or less concise way. Before we proceed with the article itself, I would like to kind of wrap up my disclaimer. So I do express certain opinions. I do not provide medical advice. If anything, today's video will be more of a cautionary tale. I believe that the advice that is given over internet can be dangerous, and I don't want anybody to fall victim of this kind of advice. And the last thing I would like to say is that, if anything, I'm not promoting keto, but I'm actually pro-keto. I actually do recommend it to some people who have epilepsy, who want to lose weight. I see a lot of good things that stemming out from ketogenic diet, but at the same time, every time I hear that people are talking about ketogenic diet being cure for cancer, my blood boils. I cannot leave it unaddressed, and I will do it right now. So again, here is this article published in the journal called Nutrients a couple of years ago in 2023. The title is here, Long-Term Effects of a Ketogenic Diet for Cancer. Interesting piece of actual clinical research that was done in Japan. The article, by the way, is in public domain. You can access it freely and read it yourself. What I will do right now is just go through the article, and I will try to explain certain things for a general audience. So what they have done, essentially, they have taken a relatively decent sized group of patients with malignant cancer, different kinds of cancer, by the way. There were 55 patients. They have put them on a ketogenic diet protocol, and the idea would be for them to be on ketogenic diet for at least 3 months, and then they would be included into the main study. So what they have done, they have started the study, included 55 subjects. Almost immediately, 2 of the subjects dropped out, and they do not even talk about them much in the article. So we have 53 subjects left, and within 3 months of the from the initiation of the study, 16 subjects dropped out because they were not able to kind of maintain ketogenic diet. They were not able to follow it due to some side effects. Some people reported nausea. Some people had some medical complications. By the way, not necessarily of the diet itself, just some personal reasons, or these are people who have malignant cancer. They might have some major health issues unrelated to the diet. But my point is that, already here, when we start with 53 subjects and looks like approximately 30% of them cannot even stick to a ketogenic diet in quite dire circumstances. You were diagnosed with cancer. You are trying likely to do everything in your power to, to follow the recommendations of the doctors or researchers. And approximately 30% of them were not even able to stick to ketogenic diet. It speaks about the ketogenic diet in a way that it might not be great diet for everyone, but nevertheless, they have 37 subjects left that were included in the main study. They have published it actually elsewhere. They published some promising results, and after that, they have done some further follow-up. I think it's 5 years follow-up, and this article is based on this follow-up. So first of all, what they have reported here is that out of these 37 subjects, 28 unfortunately have passed away in the first 5 years after the initiation of the diet and treatment, of course, because these people were receiving regular treatment for cancer. So approximately we've got 76% of people unfortunately have passed away, and I think that any reasonable person at this point would conclude that clearly ketogenic diet doesn't really work because 3/4 of your subjects are unfortunately died. This is a very sad information, and by all means, I don't want to offend anyone who is experiencing cancer right now, going through chemotherapy, putting a lot of hope into nutritional interventions, but unfortunately, that is something that is reported in this article, and I believe that in a way, it's a great thing to report. Well, I'm saying that, I mean that the fact that somebody did a long-term follow-up for something like that and showed that ketogenic diet likely doesn't help is a very important piece of information, and I hope that it will kind of dissuade people from putting a lot of hope into some treatment that clearly doesn't work. Having said that, I must note that this article actually focuses on something absolutely different. So they do present this piece of information that 28 out of 37 participants died, unfortunately, in the first 5 years of follow-up. But what they have done, they have analyzed the data differently. They actually have done some data, I don't want to say manipulation, but it is actually manipulation of the data. So they have rearranged the study groups. They have re-included subjects who were initially excluded, and from the resulting group of 53 subjects, they have done some complex analysis using propensity scores, and somehow they actually managed to show that people who were following a ketogenic diet for 12 months or more were much less likely to die in comparison to people who were following the ketogenic diet for less than 12 months. I find it to be almost Machiavellian, and I find it to be very fascinating in some dark way, because I actually disagree with the findings, and I will explain why. So what I would like to do right now, I'd like to show you some tables that I have reconstructed based on the data presented in the article, because they present the data in a very specific way that is not really easy to understand. The way they present the data actually is conducive of us perceiving the facts in a very specific way. And it looks very comprehensive, very complex, very scientific, but I honestly disagree with the conclusions that authors have presented here. And I would like to show some very basic research techniques or arithmetics, essentially, that can show us that things are not as amazing as authors are claiming. So let's dive into this table that I wanted to show you. Okay, here is this table that I have constructed based on the data presented in the article. And you can, by the way, check all these pieces of information using the article as a source. Again, it's in the public domain. So what we know is that initially they had 53 subjects. Out of these 53 subjects, 16 dropped out and 37 subjects were included because they were able to stay on the ketogenic diet for at least 3 months. Out of these 37 subjects, over the course of 5 years, 28 or 76% died, unfortunately, and 9 subjects or 24% have survived. I wanted to remember this number, 9, because it will be important just in a couple of minutes. We also know that when they have re-included the excluded subjects, the 16 subjects, the total data indicated that 41 or 77% of them died and 12 of them have survived, which is the result that is very similar to those who have been included. And based on these numbers, I could actually calculate that out of the 16 subjects who were not included initially, 13 unfortunately died and 3 survived. Also important numbers to remember. And first of all, I would like to show you that the percentage of survivors or percentages of those who passed away are almost very close to each other, let's put it this way. And essentially it shows that participation in this study didn't have much impact and likelihood of survival over the course of 5 years. That is a very important piece of information. I believe that we have to keep it in mind. And it also kind of discredits the idea that ketogenic diet helps. But the authors decided to do something different. Specifically, they have broken down the 53 subject cohort into 2 subpopulations, which would be those who have been maintaining ketogenic diet for 12 months and those who have been on ketogenic diet for less than 12 months. Some numbers are in red, and I'll explain why. So they have reported, one of the main results is that out of 21 subjects who maintained a ketogenic diet for more than 12 months, 10 died, or 48%, and 11 subjects have survived. So this is an important fact, an important set of numbers. It pretty much shows that makes an impression that people who have followed ketogenic diet for 12 months or more, they were somehow less likely to die. Obviously, that's the conclusion the authors make, but I would like to note a couple of things. First of all, it looks like essentially only 40% of subjects out of 53 initial subjects were able to stick to a ketogenic diet for a year or more. Again, people are in a very dire situation when they are fighting for their life, and only 40% of them were able to stick to ketogenic diet. This is kind of it shows that the diet is very hard to maintain, quite frankly. The next thing I would like to say is clearly there are some oddities here in terms of data, and I'll explain exactly what I'm talking about. These people who maintained ketogenic diet for 12 months or more, they must have come from this subpopulation or the original cohort of 37 subjects who maintained ketogenic diet for 3 months or more, and so on. So here we got 37 subjects. Out of those, 21 maintained the diet for 12 months or more. And we know from their own data that 9 of these subjects have survived. Only 9 out of 37 have survived. But when we look at this data, they are presented in the form of like a breakdown, different kind of breakdown. 11 subjects have survived. So that already doesn't make any sense, because there is clear contradiction between the numbers that were presented initially and the numbers that have been presented later on. Then we can look at the data for the people who were able to maintain the diet for less than 12 months. And this is the category of people who had initially excluded subjects included into this subpopulation. What we see here is like 3 people who were maintaining the diet for less than 3 months. They have survived. By the way, also we can clearly say that this excluded sub-cohort of the initial study should have been included into this subpopulation of less than 3 months, but also they should have been included in the subpopulation of the subjects or subsample of those who were sticking to the diet for just less than 12 months. And here we've got an odd situation. We know that at least 3 of them have survived for 5 years, and when they present the data for subjects who were sticking to the diet for less than 12 months, only 1 of them have survived. So when we continue trying to calculate the number of subjects who have died or survived in sub-cohorts, we see that these data do not match the data that were originally presented. And I think it's a huge issue, and I think that the data needs to be checked. That's the first thing, and the main thing, actually. And the second main thing is that what they are doing is they are trying to recreate or create 2 sub-cohorts of subjects, and they make it look like people who were following the ketogenic diet for 12 months or more were actually kind of randomly assigned to this cohort. And those who are following the diet for 12 months or more were much more likely to survive, and those who followed the diet for less than 12 months, almost all of them died. That is obviously a very unfortunate set of data, but these are not randomly assigned subjects. I can only assume that subjects who have been classified as those who have stuck to the diet for less than 12 months, they actually might have died even before this period has lapsed. So we actually see in the article that the survival rate of the subjects in this cohort is actually much, much shorter. So there were quite a few people who actually died even within the first year of the study, the first year of follow-up, and accordingly, they might have not been able, like purely mathematically, to be classified as those who were following the diet for 12 months. Say somebody was included into the study, stuck to the diet for 6 months, and unfortunately died. They would be classified here as those who were in a sub-sample of patients who received the diet for less than 12 months. And it will make it look like sticking to the diet has some impact on, some causal effect on survival. And that is not true. So these are my 2 major concerns with this study. And they are major concerns that completely, essentially, in my opinion, invalidate the whole study results. And actually, I'm thinking about writing a commentary to the journal for this article, because I believe that the way the information in this article is presented is incorrect and needs to be checked, and like there might be some sort of a, not necessarily a retraction, but a very serious reanalysis of the data and updates to this report or corrections. So these are my thoughts about this specific article. And I think it's time to talk about the ketogenic diet, this idea that it can cure cancer. I think that this particular article, actual clinical research with decent amount of follow-up, shows that ketogenic diet is not a good cure for cancer. Unfortunately, 3/4 of people who were diagnosed with malignant cancer died, with many of them being on ketogenic diet. Unfortunately, many of them dropping out because they were not able to follow ketogenic diet. And the data that they have presented and their conclusion that, if you're sticking to ketogenic diet for longer, might increase your chances of survival. First of all, we have just seen that this information is a little bit questionable, but also we can tell even that people who were excluded from the study initially, they had pretty much the same survival rate, maybe a little bit worse. But I think it just shows the extent of the positive impact of ketogenic diet on cancer. Unfortunately, I wish it was a cure, but I don't think it is. And I think that people who are making these claims that, you have to stick to keto, ignore medical advice, these are people who are actually dangerous And I hope it will never happen to you, but unfortunately, the sad reality is that majority of us will be diagnosed with cancer at a certain point in our life. It's one of the major killers in the world. If something like that happens, please, please don't listen to anybody. Go to your doctor, see an oncologist, get the second opinion if you don't believe them, follow all the recommendations. We've got good treatments for many types of cancers, might include chemotherapy, radiation, surgical interventions, and so on. And if you believe that ketogenic diet might be helpful, I don't think it would be a problem to follow it. Obviously, after discussing it with your group of treating physicians, your medical team. But please do not follow this kind of advice that is unfortunately widespread all over internet. It is a very dangerous kind of advice, and I literally wanted to make a video to caution you against trusting this kind of advice. So, having said that, I hope this video was not too negative. I will make, likely in the next couple of weeks, I'm planning to make a video on ketogenic diet for mental health. I've been planning to do it for a while, and I think it's time to actually focus on that. Having said that, I think that I don't have anything else to add. Thank you for watching this video. And if you like this kind of content, please hit the like button, subscribe, show it to your friends, interact with me, ask questions, leave comments, maybe talk about things that you would like me to talk about. And by the way, check out my book, The Rational Diet. Check out my website, drsamshealth.com. And in general, I'm looking forward to seeing you in my next videos. All the very best.